controversial videos and you don't know what the fuck's going on, I want to use this opportunity to explain things as briefly as possible so that you understand where I'm coming from. Very rarely does somebody just comb the back catalog of a channel that they've just recently discovered. Now, I certainly don't do that, so I wouldn't expect you to do that either. So I did make a mistake in my recent Regarding Corrupted Women video, in that I assumed people were already familiar with some of my older videos, particularly my The Solution series. If you haven't seen that, I will provide a link in the cards. You know, when you see these links pop up in the corner, those are cards. If you click on them, they link to some of my older videos. But obviously, not everybody does that either. Alright, so some common misconceptions. I'm not an egalitarian, I'm not an MRA. I think egalitarianism is well-intentioned, but it's not based in reality, and it inevitably leads to feminism. As Socrates said, once made equal to man, woman becomes his superior. And the reason why is very simple. Biology, nature, is anti-male. When it comes to sexual reproduction, when it comes to the sexes themselves, men are made to be disposable. This is why men can impregnate many women. This is why men have a dominance instinct. The way our species evolved, the way evolution occurs through survival of the fittest, is by men competing with each other for resources, including women. Women are a reproductive resource. So if you understand the dynamics of sexual reproduction, you understand that on a one-for-one basis, a woman is always more valuable than a man. On a one-for-one basis. Now obviously, to make children, you need men and women together. But one man can impregnate many women. He's limited only by the amount of women he can support. You know, in ancient times, it was usually restricted to about 4 women. But even so, one man can support about 4 women by himself. So if you have a population of 50% men and 50% women, you could lose 3/4 of your men and be relatively okay. Now, of course, with a shortage of men, you could be conquered by someone else. As far as reproduction goes, women are more valuable than men. It's not fair, but that's the way it is. And because women are more valuable than men when it comes to reproduction, they're protected. And men become the disposable sex. They're the ones who go out and fight the wars. Now that has its trade-offs. On the one hand, because men fight the wars and do the hunting and do the dangerous stuff, being more disposable, men tend to be stronger, smarter, have better hand-eye coordination, etc. On the other hand, men die a lot. Men are inherently more disposable in nature than women. That's simply a reality. And this is the problem with egalitarianism. It just takes the observable reality of nature and just throws it aside and basically says, let's just make everybody equal. But you can't change nature. You can make people legally equal and have people treated equally, but you can't change nature. And when you treat women and men equally, you're actually oppressing men. Because while you can take away men's social advantages to make men and women socially equal or legally equal or whatever, you can't take away their biological disadvantages. You can't make sexual reproduction work differently, where men are no longer inherently disposable. So what you have is you have a situation where men are still inherently disposable, but now men have no social advantages to compensate them for their biological disadvantages. Now you no longer have a balanced society. You now have 2 options. You could try to force women to be equally responsible to men, which isn't going to work. Women are not physically or mentally capable of stepping up and performing the functions and duties of men. Because even if you have a woman who's just as smart and capable as a man in a given career, she's still the one having the babies. So she's going to leave her career to have children, maybe come back in 5 years, maybe not. And then all this money and all this time, you wasted training her and everything like that, and then she leaves to have kids. All that's lost. So you're not bettering society by pushing this equality narrative. Sexual reproduction makes the sexes fundamentally unequal. So until we have some sort of transhumanist technology which eliminates or changes the dynamics of sexual reproduction, gender equality is an impossibility. Now, another big sticking point with some people is they don't understand the difference between how responsibility and accountability work. Because men are the drivers of society and civilization, they are ultimately responsible for society. That doesn't mean women shouldn't be held accountable for their actions. It just means that when women get out of control, it's because men allowed them to. Women can't do anything on their own. They need men to do it for them, or at least allow them to get away with it. Now, a lot of people think that that's white knighting. that I'm taking the responsibility off of women, but I'm not. I'm not talking about, just patting them on the head and saying, oh, it's not your fault. Hold them accountable for their actions. But women can't solve the problem. Women are going to remain women forever. They're not going to suddenly wake up tomorrow and no longer have a female nature. If there's something you don't like about society, convincing women isn't going to do anything. Women don't drive society, men do. Men are the builders, the maintainers, and the foundation of all societies. Even in matriarchal societies, which are usually primitive shitholes, by the way, but even in matriarchal societies, the men still do all the work. The women just have the power for some reason. Now, I don't believe acknowledging the fact that nature is inherently anti-male, that because survival and reproduction are so essential to life, that women are just always going to have an advantage in any organization or society because they're so important to reproduction. By acknowledging that, I'm not being gynocentric. If you actually look up the word, what gynocentric means, it doesn't mean that. It's acknowledging nature and the reality of the situation. You can care for women and protect them and not be gynocentric towards them. The example I like to use is a farmer and his livestock. The farmer will protect his livestock, feed his livestock. When they're sick, he'll get the medicine. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the livestock are there to serve the farmer. The farmer cares for the livestock, but he doesn't live for the livestock's benefit. The livestock live for his benefit. That's not gynocentric. If you acknowledge human nature and sexual reproductive dynamics, then you're gynocentric. No. I would love to change the reproductive dynamics, but we don't have the technology to do so. Again, watch my video series, The Solution. I talk about all of this. It's about 6 months old at this point. So I'll provide a link. It's about 2 hours long. It's not an easy watch, but go ahead and listen to it. If you actually want to know what I think in detail, this has been a very brief overview. So I hope this cleared things up. Now, I'm very active in my comment section. If you have any questions, if you're confused, if I've hurt your feelings, feel free to leave a comment. And I will respond as respectfully as I can. So this is Turd Flinging Monkey. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.